Philosophy is almost discussed in every aspect in our life. Maybe a simple comedy movie like اللي بالي بالك discusses some interesting philosophical questions. But if you didn't watch it, be careful. The movie simply is about prison manager Riyad al-Manfaluti, who was chasing the escaping prisoner Limbi, who was charged for stealing his uncle's money. The chase ended up with a severe accident for both of them. The officer's brain and the criminal's body were severely damaged. In order to save the life of the officer, the doctors decided to transfer Limbi's brain to Riyad's body. Here the first problem arises, and the very first obvious question: did the doctors save Limbi or Riyad? In order to avoid this confusion, we will call the result of this operation Galal. As the story develops, Galal will be forced to live Riyad's life, taking all Riyad's responsibilities that includes managing the prison and preventing prisoners from escaping. But Galal preferred Limbi's life. Actually, he didn't even like Riyad's body and preferred to be back in Limbi's body.
تفتكر فين انت في وجاهة الليمبي ولا حلاوة الليمبي ولا طعامة الليمبي؟ الليمبي ده كان يسوق شارع قدامه كده بحاله، صقر كبير، له في الجبال علامات، الليمبي ده كان فاضل له يومين وصورته تنزل على الجنيه.
So, another question here arises, which is, should he take Riyad's responsibility? Then, Galal meets Fayha, Riyad's wife, who thought that Galal was Riyad and never thought of Galal as Limbi. Galal liked her. They even end up having a way better relationship than the one Fayha had with Riyad. But he was confused and provided us with another question: should Fayha be considered as Galal's wife? After that, the corrupted officers at the prison helped one of the prisoners escape. So, they needed the cooperation of Galal, and in order to get it, they threatened him that they will tell everyone about his story and accuse him with the Limbi's charges. In order to sort out this all confusion, we must answer the very first question: did the doctor save Limbi or Riyad? After the accident, Limbi's body has been damaged, but his brain was fully functional. However, Riyad has the opposite state, a damaged brain with a functional body. The question here is, which one of them does still represent himself? To answer this question, we need to go back to one of the oldest problem in the philosophical history, the mind-body problem, where we try to find out what exactly defines a human being. Is it the physical matter that makes up the brain, combined with its neurons and electric signal, or there is another untouchable entity that forms the consciousness that is called mind? Two major schools have developed arguments regarding these questions: dualism and the judging party for dualism called materialism. Dualism, out of Descartes' mind, claims that the physical matter does exist in the shape of body along with the non-physical entity called mind. He realized this as a result of doubting everything. But as doubting, his thinking process itself needs a doubting entity that cannot be totally separated out of his doubting process, he came up with the dualism principle. From the supporting points for dualism, there are two important arguments that are identity and Leibniz's law. Simply, identity states the condition to say that two things are identical, they need to be one and the same entity. And Leibniz's law states that both need to have the same characteristics. Applying this to the dualism will show that our mental states possess characteristics that our physical states don't have. So, they are not identical, and they are not the same, and both coexist at the same time. The counter school is materialism. It claims that nothing non-physical can exist. To explain something, it should have its physical matter. Even mind, feelings, and emotions can be explained in the form of matter that are composed or moving in a certain way that shapes them. This principle criticizes dualism as they don't have a clear definition of mind, not being able to separate the doubting entity of the body and sensations that does not imply the existence of non-physical mind. Also, some dualists claim that the interdisciplinary system between body and mind is done through a certain part of the human brain, which does not solve the mind-body problem by representing the mind as a physical matter. In the movie, it's obvious that he is discussing that Galal is a Limbi because his mind, quote-unquote consciousness, and ideas were transferred with his brain to Riyad's body, which is a materialistic point of view, of course. Other theories about the self includes Plato, who thinks that the self has three parts: the reason, physical appetite, and passions. The reason seeks the truth by facts and arguments. Physical appetite is our basic biological need, such as hunger. Passion is our basic emotions, such as love and anger. The appetite and the passion are like a winged horse, and the reason is like the charioteer who controls them. John Locke also saw that there is a singular self, which is consciousness. Humans are intelligent beings capable of reason and reflect on their past and sample itself at different time and space. So they can conscious their identity at different times and places, and this consciousness is your identity through time is yourself. Hume had a different opinion. He thought that there is no self. Human is two entities, impressions and ideas. Impressions can be experienced with basic senses, and ideas are copies of impressions cannot be perceived by our senses. And since it can be removed from reality and you cannot feel it or test it, so there is no self. Kant does not agree with Hume that there is no self. He said that there are two selves, empirical and transcendental. The empirical self organizes all your experiences and sends inputs, making it understandable to the transcendental self, who analyzes the thoughts and feelings on what you have perceived. Towards the ending of the movie, the implication that arises from the materialistic approach started to appear in the movie as the climax proceeded. As Jalal started to feel pressured from his work and from Fayhat, so he decided to embrace the character of the Limbi. Resigning from his work and running away from Fayhat, all of this came after he threatened the doctor that operated on him and imprisoning the corrupted officer. Those two were the ones that chose that Jalal will assume the role of Riyad in society based on which character will help them achieve their goals easier. The doctor would have more fame from such complex operation and also saving a general. And the corrupt officer would have more control on the prison, with Jalal keeping his post as the manager, without giving much thinking on what would be patient want or who the patient consider himself to be. This is the ethical dilemma regarding the operation itself, which shows that with the absence of the solution to the mind-body problem, all the cases that will happen will have a pragmatic solution that would give the most gain to the more interested party. Riyad was rich and powerful in society. He had a family to ask about his whereabouts, opposing to a Limbi, who was poor, thief, and he had no one to ask about him after the accident. The movie's seemingly shallow idea had a deeper meaning to its character, raising the philosophical dilemma of the mind-body problem that needs to be answered in order to solve the underlying ethical and legal questions. Is Jalal guilty or innocent? Is Jalal married to Fayhat? And is he the prisoner's general manager or the superb thief?